Hello there, my lovely jewelry makers. So in today's video we're going to be doing something a little bit special because I was contacted by a company called TurquoiseMoose and they asked if I wanted to try out some of the gemstones. So of course I checked them out, looked on the website, and basically I was very impressed by their website and by the stones that they had and everything. So of course I said yes, and I then thought, of course I'm going to share it with you as well because you might be interested, and let's just get right into it, shall we? So this is the little cute box that they sent, and let's get into the tape here. Now what they mainly do is they specialize in turquoise gemstones, so they do beads and they also do cabochons and stones in general. They do also, from what I could tell, do some opal, but they do specialize in turquoise. So got this nice little box, like I said. Let's peek right into it, shall we? And this is what they sent. So we have, by the looks of it, let me just free this up, a strand of beads, which they did tell me that beads is something they've launched more recently. But they have loads of different stones and cabochons on their site, and I basically found a lot that I was very sold on. Really fell in love with a lot of the stones that they have. So let's just bring it in a little closer, shall we, so we can actually see it more in detail. So instantly, obviously you won't be able to tell this from the video, but just kind of touching them and holding them, feeling them, they just feel really nice, and you can definitely tell that it's genuine. And it's very interesting colours. It's kind of like the turquoise, but very green in this case on the beads. And basically they're all unique. So these are little nuggets, and they're not too big and not too small. It's actually quite a nice size, this. So it'd be interesting to try and do something with the beads. Now this is then the cabochon. Have a little look. So I think this measures 8 by 22 millimeter, and it's called a surfboard shape. You can see quite elongated oval, and that is really nice. I love this color turquoise, where it's quite a nice bright but not too bright blue. That's very beautiful. Now this is quite an interesting size because this would actually work for both something like a ring and bracelet and pendant, with it being not too big, obviously. So these are the lovely things. So the beads there and the cabochon that they sent me. Now I do also just want to mention this that they sent me as well that I didn't know about. It's basically a little sketchbook. This is their logo, which is really nice. I love when it's the foil printing, and it's a lovely turquoise, obviously that makes sense, but I love that. So a cute little sketchbook. Now in the sketchbook there's actually some vouchers there, and this is then checkered or squared, whatever you want to call it, paper, which actually I think would work really well for creating and sketching designs for, say, this cabochon here. Kind of outline using a pencil the shape of the cabochon and then kind of create designs by sketching around, and then you have obviously the checkered there, the squares, to help you keep it more symmetrical if you want to. So that's actually quite a nice idea. Now this sketchbook does cost some, but the whole point of it is that you actually buy it with vouchers. So it's kind of like a gift card that I guess you could almost use it for, because it comes with credit in it. So that's definitely a cool little idea, something a bit different, instead of just, you know, a piece of paper or an email or something. Actually a little sketchbook that you can also use, like I said, to make some designs and sketches. And the sketchbook itself is pretty cute. But speaking of credit or vouchers, they actually were kind enough to also create a code. So the code is CSL, just plain CSL, and it's gonna give you $30 off orders above $55. Now obviously I'm going to put all the details in the description box down below, and along with links to the website, and also for these things here. So for the sketchbook, the beautiful, I always feel it's got to be really delicate, the beads, and obviously the cabochon as well. But literally I do recommend checking out the website. It's very beautiful, and I actually really like a lot of how the website is as well. Let me just show you. So for instance, what you can actually do as well, because turquoise obviously comes from different places and different mines, on the website you can even search for the specific mine. If you can kind of see it here, you can choose if you have a preference, obviously, because certain mines, different mines kind of create, or different looks of turquoise come out of different mines. So if you have a preference, you can specifically search for a certain mine. So for instance, click there and all the turquoise they have from that mine comes up. I think that's a really nice feature. And what I also like that they do here is that they actually create little, almost not a kit, but they call it design ready presets. So they also kind of lay them out in the picture there to kind of give you an idea what it could be. You obviously don't have to use them like that, but for instance, that in itself can give you literally an idea for the design. So this design ready preset gives you all these, and then it's kind of laid out for how they would work really nicely in a pair of earrings, and obviously creating the jewellery from that. So I think that's a really cool idea as well. So I just overall really like the website, and it's also very beautiful. And as you can see, I went on a bit of a spree here looking at different ones that I really like, and also some of the opal there that they do. Now I just need to show you these. These are so beautiful. I just completely fell for them straight away. Very beautiful. I think they're quite large actually. Yeah, they are quite large, and there's just stones like this really get my attention because I can just see so many things, and it's just like nature, like the sea, kind of a bit unruly. I really love these ones. They're very beautiful. But anyway, enough about the website. You can obviously check that out yourself. But what I'm then going to do now is, I guess you could say, play around with this, try and come up with some ideas for how to use them, and hopefully create some jewelry, maybe even do a few sketches, see if I have some different ideas. And then I'll be right back and show you what I come up with. So I now spent a bit of time on making some jewellery, and what I actually did was I started out by taking a sketchbook here because I had a couple of ideas but I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. So I took the sketchbook and thought I'll try and make a couple of sketches to kind of just play around with the ideas and see what I wanted to do, because mainly for the cabochon's sake, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to make a pendant or a ring or something out of it. So I thought what I actually did was took the cabochon itself and used the squares on the paper, and first of all just traced around the cabochon, and I did that several times. So it basically had the cabochon shape obviously and size there, and then I just kind of played around with some different ideas of how to capture it. So these ones here, this one I started with, is capturing the cabochon with wire, and then having the wire cross over the cabochon to first of all capture it, but also obviously adding a bit of design detail, and then making a bail there at the top. And then next I did the same way of capturing along the sides there, but then I made like some little loops, both at the bottom there and at the top. And also obviously that would be a bit of a design feature, and again a bail at the top. Now here what I then did was play around with the thought of capturing it with wire crochet, which I have done a lot recently, but I kind of then thought capture it with wire crochet and then actually use one of the beads to add a little dangle at the bottom. So I did quite like that idea, but then next I thought I need to kind of try and think of if I can make a ring some way. And so obviously we have the ring band on the sides there, but what I then thought was I wanted to keep it quite simple and have the stone be the main focus, because it's very beautiful and obviously I didn't want to cover too much of it. So I then did it a ring band, but then kind of captured the stone pretty minimalistic. So it just wrapped wire basically around kind of the top and the bottom, but at an angle. So that makes it a bit more of a design feature as well without being too much. And that is actually what I ended up doing with the cabochon. So obviously I have one here that I didn't fill out, but then here, this is a little sketch of what I ended up doing as well as other things with some of the beads. So basically I made a peeper knot out of wire, and quite small, and then also added a bead there, and I've connected them, so I've turned that into a chain. So that's kind of how I started out, doing a bit of sketching, playing around with some ideas in this cute little notebook that they sent as well. So why don't we just have a little look at the actual pieces. So let's just start with the cabochon, because that's how I started with the sketches, and I ended up making this ring. So as you can see, the ring band there, just a kind of simple wire weave, my favorite one actually, the diagonal one. And I just ended up capturing the cabochon in that way that I drew in my sketch, just at the top and the bottom, but kind of at an angle. So it does add a bit of feature without taking too much away from the stone. And then that's what it looks like on the back. So pretty minimalistic there, but at the same time, quite nice, I think. And it leaves the stone very much the center focus of the piece. And I did I'm happy that I ended up choosing a ring for this, because it's not that often that I use cabochons to make rings with, and this was pretty much the perfect size and shape, I thought. So I'm pretty pleased with that, how that turned out. I think it makes the stone stand out nicely. So that was the first piece. Then, like I mentioned, I made a chain using some of the beads. So this is how that actually turned out. So I made peeper knots, but using wire. Normally they're kind of made with cord, but I thought I'd try and make them with wire, and then make them fairly small so they kind of match in size with the beads there, and turn it into a chain. So this one I just made the length of a bracelet at a clasp, and I think actually worked out really well. I'm quite pleased with this. A bit of a different kind of chain, and I also think the chain pieces there, the peeper knots, work nicely with the beads. So obviously the wire work parts are also a feature here, but so are the beads. I don't think it takes away from the beads at the same time. So I think that worked out pretty well. And I really do like, I decided for all my pieces here to actually go with silver wire. I just ended up doing that. I did debate about copper wire, same with the ring there, because copper would have worked as well. But I think just for what I was going for, copper would have made it more warm, so warm up the colours of the beads there and the cabochon obviously more. And then the silver kind of makes it a little cooler, I guess, but I find it to be a little bit more elegant looking, which is kind of what I wanted to go for in these pieces. So that's why I chose silver wire for all of them, but you could just as easily use copper wire. But that's the little bracelet that I made. I think it's pretty cute. And then I actually made another ring. So I took out one of the beads. This is literally just using one bead, and I made this ring. I kind of just, first of all, I thought I want to try and take one bead and make a ring with it. And I thought, how can I do that? And it's still looking nice, but at the same time, obviously, you can still kind of see the bead. So I ended up kind of coming up with this design, and I think it worked out really well. It almost is a little bit dragon eye-like. So the bead in the middle there is still very much in focus because that is in the center, and is then surrounded by these kind of swirls of wire. So I think that actually turned out pretty nicely. I'm pretty pleased with the result of that. And again, the silver wire there, could easily use copper, but I just wanted to kind of keep this style going. So that was another ring. So I actually made 2 rings so far. Now the final piece I made here was this cross design that I've done in the past. So this is actually an old design of mine that I already have a tutorial on if you're interested, if you haven't seen that already. So this is an Egyptian style cross that I came up with. And I saw the beads and thought about this design and thought, actually, I think they would work perfectly, because technically these beads are nuggets, so they're not uniform perfectly around all of them, which this design really isn't ideal for different size and shapes of beads. But these beads, even though they're nuggets, they're similar enough in size and shape that you can use them for a design like this, or obviously a different one where you need them to be fairly uniform. And I actually think it worked out really nicely. And I do like the fact that they are a little bit different from each other, so not perfectly round. It makes it a little bit more kind of personality to it, I guess. So it's not just so uniform, all of the beads there, like the other ones that I've done in the past. So I really do like how this has turned out, and I'm really glad I tried using these beads for this design. And again, I like them a lot with the silver wire, just giving them that more elegant look to it. So I'm quite pleased with how this one turned out as well. So I've ended up making 4 complete pieces of jewellery, but I just have to show you. Obviously 3 of those pieces are with the beads, but look how much I still have left. So this is the length of the strand. I feel like I only barely touched it basically. There's still loads of beads left. So obviously, depending how you use them, they will really go a long way. Now obviously I did use the cabochon there, that was one of them. But I made a whole bracelet using a fair few. Obviously the ring only used 1, but it's still quite impactful. And then also this pendant here, which also used a few. Yet there is loads left still on the strand. So I think that's pretty well done. So these are the 4 pieces I ended up making. I'm quite pleased with how they turned out myself. I hope you liked them too. Now, like I mentioned, the cross here, I already have a tutorial on that's available on my channel. I'll put a link to that in the description box down below as well. But if you're interested in seeing any tutorials for the other pieces here, because they're new designs that I came up with, then please do let me know in the comments. And now if you do like turquoise, I do highly recommend that you check out TurquoiseMoose because they have a lot of beautiful stones and the website I was very impressed with as well. So of course I'm going to leave a link and all the information you need in the description box down below. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you so much to TurquoiseMoose for sending me these stones here. I really enjoyed working with them, and also it allowed me to come up with some new designs that I probably would not come up with otherwise. So thank you so much for that, and also thank you to you so much for watching this. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.